Hi guys. Yes. I just this is like not like a part 2, but some people before they asked me if I ever experienced racism in Japan. Yes, I did. So, but am I angry? Of course I was. So, I'm gonna tell you the story. But okay, let me explain. I think I am the second new generation of Filipino overseas worker in Japan. So what does it mean? The first generation, the generation before us, they usually work as no offense meant, entertainers, and they're beautiful entertainers. So they work, in Philippine pubs, Philippine clubs, and so on. And some of them they work, like skilled workers, like construction companies, and so on. So, if you're a woman in Japan and a Filipina, they would assume that you work in a Philippine pub, especially for older generation. But then again, I'm the second generation. What does the second generation mean? I am the generation when Japan has allowed Filipino English teachers to enter Japan. Now, what are our advantage and disadvantages of being us? Number one advantage is that if you have a degree and especially education or anything related to English, most likely you can get a job in Japan. So, and you can work in a school, a kaiwa. What is a kaiwa? It's like an academy, like after school, or you can work for kids. And then, number two advantage is that it's easier for us to rent an apartment sometimes. So, because our jobs, they are quite stable. Not mine, but but other people they work for these companies that are quite well established in Japan. And a lot of Filipinos are also working as assistant language teachers in public schools. So that's also another advantage. So landlords, they would check your background and then, oh, okay, this girl, she works in this company. So if anything happened, I can guarantee that she would pay her bills and so on and so forth. So that's another third, advantage. There's a sense of security. Then it's easier for us also to access a lot of things that Japanese do. Because Japan right now, slowly but surely, they're trying to do their best in order to provide for us. For instance, we have to be enrolled into healthcare if you're working over 30 hours part-time. But my company cut that off. So now, because they don't want to pay for me. So I have to... Anyways... And then next one, pension system. Although sometimes I think it's a scam because they have a lot of older people. Yeah, so and I'm gonna say something about that later. So these older people, yeah, we have to pay for their pension. So, but on the other hand, after 2 years, we can get like a refund for that, so it's okay. And then we also have access to healthcare. So in Japan, we pay about 15,000 yen. That is, I don't know in dollars, maybe $150 a month. And then whenever you go to a hospital or anything like that, you only pay for 30%. Now, that is where I took advantage for my dental and also when I got operated. So I was washing these glasses and then glass stuck, the glass broke and then it buried into my here, my hand. And then I called an ambulance. I had a surgery that night. I got my 30 days worth, 15 days worth of medicine. And and then my bill was just $100 for all of that, guys, an ambulance. During the pandemic, to be honest, I was so embarrassed that time because that time it was the beginning of pandemic when people couldn't understand it yet that much. So when they picked me up, they were wearing these, full suits. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that time we have scarcity for that. So I'm like, no, I wasted this. I should have bought you guys raincoat or something to cover yourselves, not this, medical equipment, because I felt like it's a waste for me during that time because that was the beginning of pandemic. And then Another advantage for us is it's easy for us to get a bank account and loan money as well. So I heard some of my friends, they could loan money for medical and housing. So there's an advantage for that as well. That is, and it's easy for us to, um, I think, yeah, a lot of things are much easier for us now. Unlike our predecessors, some of them, they don't have access to medical health care because they came here illegally, and that time people could get away with it. So some people would work here like 3 months, but they're gorgeous. So yeah, um, and this pandemic, they're really hit. Unlike us, we're still working. We're kind of like frontliners. Anyway, the disadvantage, on the other hand, of being here in Japan is, I mean, our first, the first generation, aside from limited jobs and other things, sometimes they would think that because I'm a woman, I work in a Philippine pub. This fat girl worked in a Philippine pub. Maybe when I was thin, like 5 years ago, I would accept that as a compliment because they're gorgeous. My gosh, if you say I work in a Philippine pub, I'm gonna say, yes, I work in Ginza. 5 years ago. But now I still need to diet. I need to starve myself. So yes, I have experienced racism in Japan. In what way? Well, it was difficult for me to find an apartment. Do you know that? Well, there's an advantage, but on the other hand, finding an apartment, they might say, oh, we don't want to talk to you. You can speak in Japanese, which is acceptable. Maybe I couldn't follow rules, but sometimes, yeah, some foreigners are also too loud, so it's not good for the neighbors, and especially houses here are like apartments, which they call mansion, but they're apartments. So something like that. And then another racism thing that I've experienced, well, at my work, not from, no, in a way, not racism, but I understand the logic. Like, a lot of Japanese find Caucasians, even though they're not from U.S. or U.K. They would say they would prefer them to teach them instead of Filipinos because they never thought that we could teach. But on the other hand, as I've said, I'm very fortunate that Japan has allowed this, because in South Korea, Filipinos could never work as English teachers unless you married a South Korean and you can have this certain type of visa, but they would never give a working visa for us Filipinos. Yes, if you're an educator. That's what I heard, but I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong for Koreans. Anyway, next one. I remember before I went to this sauna. So I was there. I entered the room. Everyone went out. I left the room. I entered the public bath. The hot, steamy something. Then everyone left. And then people were talking like gaijin, gaijin, blah, blah, blah. Gaijin is like foreigner. But then again, I understand that. Most of them were old women. So as I've said, my predecessors, they were like entertainers. So it would befall on us. So, and sometimes we get, I've heard that some of my friends, what's that? Because they're dating Japanese, it's like their colleagues or friends of the Japanese guy, they would sometimes like mock their Japanese friend, like, why are you dating her? I mean, if she's extremely beautiful, but something like that. So where did you meet her? In a Philippine pub? So those are minimal things that I get. And also credit card. Guys, I couldn't get a credit card. Yes, I got it from like a internet banking. So there are a lot of limitations for us. But then again, it happens not only for us, but also to other people. And so there are a lot of things. And even at the airport, like for example, if you're gonna travel alone, they're gonna check your bag. But if you're gonna travel with a Japanese, you're gonna ask them to please carry my bag. They're not gonna check his bag or her bag. So, it's unfair. That's how I got my meat from the Philippines passed through the customs. It's dried meat, so don't get me wrong. So anyway, those are the things that I've experienced here regarding racism. And, Filipinos are naturally loud, so they don't like it as well. So I don't think that's racist. I think that is, We are disturbing public silence, public order. So anyway, how do I feel about this? Well, before I would find it offensive, but right now, when you're older and happier and stressed, you don't have time for these things, you know. You would just be focused on how you would get your life back, how you would continue living. And you won't have time for hate because you would start loving yourself or minding your own business, of course. So that's about it. That's my experience in Japan. And guys, how about you? Have you ever experienced any racist thing? I mean, maybe when you travel to other countries. Hey, guys, by the way, Filipinos are racist too, you know. I'm gonna tell you about that next time. Thank you.